Howdy my totally tubular gamers, and here we are with a big ranking video that I know a number of people have wanted to see. And today's ranking video is going to be on the 3D Sonic the Hedgehog games. Now Sonic the Hedgehog is obviously one of the biggest icons in video games. He's been around for well over 20 years, and I'm certain he'll be around more than another 20 years. He's got a movie, he's got another movie coming out actually, and he's got tons and tons of video games. I mean, he's Sonic the Hedgehog. However, when it comes to the 3D Sonic the Hedgehog games, there's obviously some known issues. Now, I'm sure that you've seen at least 50 YouTubers explain how hard Sonic had of a time to get into 3D and how Sonic 3D games have struggled over the years, and I'm not going to be the next person to explain to you why. As much fun as it is to kick the blue hedgehog while he's down with some of his lesser 3D games, I think there are tons of great 3D Sonic games that are still worth playing even to this day. Now, over the years, there have been a lot of 3D Sonic games, like a lot. There's been way more 3D Sonic games than, like, Mario. And I've actually played all of them. I've been a Sonic the Hedgehog fan for life. I grew up with a lot of these games and got a lot of them when they came out. And, well, we're just going to rank them all. If the game is in 3D and has Sonic the Hedgehog, it will be ranked on this list. We are going to look at all of them. We're going to be ranking these games based off of quality. How well are the games nowadays? How are the levels? How's the story? How are the glitches? Are the glitches really bad? Is the game really bad? We're ranking everything here. We're putting it all into perspective. We're going to see how the entire series stacks up. And with a series as big as Sonic the Hedgehog with so many 3D games, obviously we're all going to have different opinions, so you can tell me yours in the comments. I love reading the comments where you tell me what your favorite games are or why I'm just totally wrong. I mean, that's always funny too. And it seems in the Sonic the Hedgehog community, say what you will about them, but it seems that every time they sneeze, they change their opinion on a 3D Sonic game, so there is that as well. And if you're going to comment your opinion, why don't you sub also? That'd be great, thanks. Now, obviously, in the future, there's going to be more 3D Sonic games. That's inevitable. Of course there's going to be more. They just announced one a few weeks ago. It doesn't even have a name, but there's going to be another 3D Sonic game. So, with all that in mind, let's just get started. What do I think is the worst Sonic the Hedgehog game in 3D? Now, this is kind of a contentious opinion, but what is the worst 3D Sonic game? Yeah, I'd rather not talk about this game. This game only hurt the Blue Blurs icon even more. What's the second worst Sonic the Hedgehog game in 3D? Well, we're not doing much better. We have Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, the most infamous Sonic game probably ever made. When people think of bad 3D Sonic games, I'm certain this is the one that comes to mind first, and while I don't think it's as bad as Sonic Boom, I'm still going to say that it's pretty awful in just about every regard. Aside from the music, I'd say every single aspect of this game is pretty awful across the board, with terrible controls, awful gameplay, bland level design, lots of load times, a truly terrible story. This game has basically nothing going for it. The game tried to be more like Sonic Adventure with its pacing and its characters and just really how the game progresses. However, it falls completely flat on its face for a few reasons. The entire pacing of the game is just completely thrown out of whack due to a variety of reasons, such as load times that are literally everywhere with these obnoxious cutscenes, one of the worst cameras in any 3D video game that just leads to tons of unnecessary deaths, extremely long levels that drag on and do nothing interesting, and then playing as the other characters. Like, in Sonic Adventure, I loved playing as the other characters. However, in this game, playing as anyone other than Sonic is truly a terrible time. All the characters are equally unfun and just bring basically nothing interesting to the table because there's just some fatal flaw with every single character and their levels. Then don't even get me started on the boss fights, especially Silver. Do not get me started. And then you bring in all the glitches and just basic stability of the game into question, and you have one of the most infamous video games ever made. I mean, I don't really have anything new to add to the table here with Sonic 06. It really, truly is one of the worst games ever made. Is it the worst 3D Sonic game? No, but that's not saying anything, honestly. And I really don't even want to talk about the story. I just don't. Honestly, let's just go to the next game and get away from this train wreck. Well, it is in 3D, so here we have Sonic 3D Blast. And yeah, Sonic 3D Blast, it's not a good game. It's not a good game at all, actually. Sonic 3D Blast was the Blue Blur's first attempt to be in 3D, and the results are questionable to say the least. Again, aside from the music, this game really doesn't bring anything to the table and just can't do anything well. The game is about Sonic rescuing Flickies from Robotnik. However, this time he's on a three-dimensional plane, so it's this kind of top-down perspective that is really awkward. Like, this is one of the most awkward video games I've probably ever played, and is easily the most awkward Sega Genesis / Saturn game. The controls are just not smooth, the game is not intuitive, and I just think that this perspective is a terrible perspective for any sort of platformer, let alone a Sonic game where you're running really fast. That is, if you could even go really fast. There's really no areas in this game that you can move at even a decent speed, really. You can maybe get up to a jog in a few levels, but that's it. The structure of this game is so weird, even for a Sonic game. It isn't to just go from point A to B like you would think. No, you have to actually explore these levels and try to find these Flickies throughout the levels. If you find all 5 Flickies, then at the end of the level you can actually leave and go to the next area. So what this leads you to is pretty much just going into every nook and cranny in these basic, boring, generic levels that have nothing good about them. Like, these levels are just not good. There's not a single good level in this game. And it's just really tedious to try to find all these Flickies, especially by the end of the game. The further you get into the game, these levels get massive, they get way too long, and the platforming challenges just do not work with the isometric perspective. This game really just does not feel like a Sonic game. Like, sure, Sonic's there, his power-ups are there, Robotnik's there, and a couple of the levels could look like they're Sonic, but it plays nothing like a Sonic game. I don't know what this plays like. It's some Frankenstein's monster of a 3D idea with like the 2D no, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work well. It's not a fun game. It's really hard to come back to nowadays, and it's easily the worst Genesis Sonic game. I don't recommend this to anybody, and it truly is terrible. So the next game on our list is Sonic and the Secret Rings, released for the Wii. Now, I remember when this game came out, I actually got it like right when it came out. It came out right around when the Wii came out, and I was pretty excited. It was a new Sonic game, new console. It was going to be awesome. Well, then I actually played it, and played it extensively, and, well, I don't think it's awesome. It's definitely not tubular, I can say that. Now, there is one big reason why Sonic and the Secret Rings sucks, and that's the controls. I think the controls just completely ruin the game. With it being a Wii game coming out almost at launch, it's all about the motion controls, and for some reason Sega thought it would be a good idea to control Sonic like a car, where you hold the Wii remote sideways and turn it left and right. This is just not good. As a kid, and when this came out, I was like, this isn't that bad, I guess, it's okay. However, coming back all these years later, I'm just like, wow, I thought this was even okay. Not only is it extremely unresponsive and clunky, but it just leads to all the levels being on rails, basically, where you just move forward, kind of like Crash, but much worse. All the levels just do not do anything interesting, and all of them are heavily affected by these motion controls. Basic movements such as turning can be a pain in the ass. Turning left and right can be a pain. Jumping on rails isn't fun. Jumping in general, there's just something wrong with the jumping in this game, where Sonic has to like charge a jump and then let go. You can't just jump like any other platformer. The homing attack is as unresponsive as ever, and the game's pacing does it no favors either. The game goes for like a mission structure rather than just a level to level like progression. And these missions really just have you replaying the same parts of these levels over and over, and it wasn't good the first time I played through this level. It's not going to be good the 8th time I play through it, and sometimes these objectives are just obnoxious and have you replaying them over and over. Like that dinosaur egg hunting level. Fuck that level. And this story, honestly, I couldn't care about this story. Where Sonic ends up in the Arabian Nights world, and like other Sonic characters show up as characters from Arabian Nights, and Sonic has to save them, and I just don't care. I just don't care. I don't think it's a very good story, and I think it's pretty sloppy, and I hate these cutscenes. At least graphically, the game was pretty alright, and the music, the music is killer in this one, especially when we're gonna rock the place. There was even a Mario Party style multiplayer to show off how bad the motion controls could really get. And this game is really just a product of its time, where they were really trying to push the Wii's motion controls, and I think it just completely falls flat in any other context, as I just don't think it's a good game. It's very gimmicky, and I don't recommend it to anybody. And the next game on our list is the other Sonic storybook game, and that's Sonic and the Black Knight, also for the Wii. Now remember everything I just said about Sonic and the Secret Rings? Well, It's pretty much the same deal here with Sonic and the Black Knight, only it's a little better and there's a lot more combat. The controls are a little bit better. You get to actually use the nunchuck on the Wii rather than controlling him like a car, but the level design is still essentially the same type of level design, and I still don't like it. And fighting these enemies with the sword, which was the main gimmick of the game, the sword, yeah, they really gave Sonic the Hedgehog a sword. I just think fighting with the sword wasn't very fun, and coming back to it all these years later, I'm just like, I really do not like these motion controls at all. The game's pacing and structure is basically the same as Sonic and the Secret Rings. I still don't really like it. You actually do get to play as other characters rather than Sonic, and playing as these other characters, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, it's not Sonic 06, but it still didn't really improve my experience with the game. And the story, I just couldn't really care all that much about the story. In fact, I think this whole Sonic storybook series just kind of stupid, actually, and it didn't continue after this game, so I guess Sega thought so as well. It's not the worst Sonic the Hedgehog game. I mean, it made it this far on the list, but I still don't recommend it. It's not a good game. There's really no place for it nowadays, and the motion controls, yeah, I'm good without them. I'm really good without this game in general. The next Sonic game is the latest 3D Sonic game as of the recording of this video, and that is Sonic Forces, which was released a couple years back. Sonic Forces is probably the most forgettable 3D Sonic game on this entire list. Like, it is very generic and bland in almost every aspect. The story was pretty silly, where Sonic gets defeated and Eggman is able to actually take over the world, and then Knuckles, Tails, and all of Sonic's friends are able to bust him out and are the Resistance to take on Eggman, and then it's just about Sonic stopping Eggman and this new character named Infinite. I mean, Infinite isn't as bad as Mephiles from Sonic 06, but I wouldn't say this is good, and this story, honestly, is just really silly, with some really silly lines from some of the characters.
Whoa, you gotta be kidding! That's just a special effect, right?
However, you aren't just playing as Sonic, as classic Sonic shows up for some reason, and then you also get to play as the Rookie. Yeah, this was the Sonic game where you got to make your OC. Finally, you could make your own character in Sonic the Hedgehog. People have been doing it on DeviantArt forever, but here we are, we got a game where you can do it now. However, despite all of this, I think the game is still not very good. It's incredibly average, bland, generic, forgettable, stale, all those key negative words. Like, it just doesn't do anything interesting. The game just feels like it's on autopilot and is just going through the motions. Like, it just doesn't feel like it does anything new for a Sonic game, and everything's been done better before. All the modern Sonic levels just fail to engage me, like, in any way. A lot of them are just on auto run, and a lot of them just feel like they're trying to harken back to Generations or Colors, and it's just not as good. Like, it really is not as good, and these levels are just very forgettable. I could not tell you, like, a single level in this game without having looked at it right before I recorded this video. Classic Sonic, don't know why he's here, doesn't have a single good level in the game. And then the Rookie, the OC that you get to create, these are probably the most interesting levels, as they actually try to do a few new gimmicks with like this hookshot kind of ability. And these levels, they could be worse. They're not the hallway levels from Secret Rings, but these are just not very good either. The game was ultimately very disjointed, unremarkable, mediocre, and generally quite shallow. Like, the game just didn't do anything interesting and was a very mediocre experience. This is easily the shortest 3D Sonic game, coming in at like 3 to 4 hours, and it still feels like it drags on a bit. To make matters worse, this game came out like 2 or 3 months after Sonic Mania, which completely blew it out of the water. This game got sent flying into the ether where nobody's going to talk about it again, and that's just because it's so unremarkable. The next game on our list is Shadow the Hedgehog. Now, I played this game back when it came out, and as a kid, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I thought Shadow was so dark and edgy, and it was so serious and black and gray, and yeah, coming back all these years later, I can see now that the game does have some fundamental flaws. However, I still think that it is in, like, the middle tier of Sonic 3D games. Like, it's not totally awful, but it's not very good either. The story with the aliens and Shadow's past and Maria and trying to fit this into Sonic canon, like, it just doesn't really make any sense. It's pretty silly, and it's honestly just laughably bad for the most part. In fact, I'd say it's so bad that it's good, really. It's quite funny, and I think if you go into this game trying to take it seriously, it's just not going to be a good time. I think it's honestly better to just sit back and laugh at how ridiculous this game tries to be edgy and serious. I mean, Shadow himself is so serious in some of these missions, and the Black Arms, like the aliens, it's just honestly humorous.
Where's that damn fourth Chaos Emerald?
They have a mission where you go to kill the President of the United States. Like, you can't take this shit seriously. And then when it comes to the gameplay, it's a 3D Sonic game. You go mostly point A to B, however, there are other objectives that are sprinkled in there. Shadow has a morality system where you can either be good or bad. You can help the bad guys and kill all the gun soldiers, or the good guys and kill all the aliens. The choice is yours. Shadow has a moveset that's decently similar to Sonic, however, he does get to use guns, which I remember I thought was the coolest thing. Oh, that's so cool, you get to run around with a gun in Shadow the Hedgehog, and the shooting is pretty silly, and just the fact that any hedgehog is using guns in a Sonic game is just funny. There's a reason the game has become a meme all these years later, like, it just doesn't do itself any favors. The controls are very slippery and are not very good all these years later, and the game's pacing and structure absolutely just tears this game apart because they want you to play through the game 10 times, yes, 10 times, to get the final ending, to get the real ending of the game. So you have to play through the game as a good guy and then turn at the last second, become evil, and vice versa, or you can just go straight to the end. And yeah, you just play through this game way too many times. The entire structure of the game is fatally flawed. And if it wasn't for all this edgy, goofy shit, and the fact that some of these levels are actually enjoyable, especially when you go from just point A to B, yeah, this game wouldn't be very good. I mean, it's really not. It's not a very good game. However, I do have a fair amount of nostalgia with it, and I think that it does have some elements that aren't horrible, but yeah, I wouldn't really recommend this game unless you want the edgiest game alive. Our next game is Sonic Lost World. This was the only game keeping me from making this list. I finally recently played through it, and I can say that, I mean, it was okay, I guess? Sonic Lost World is a very mixed bag. I feel like for everything it does right, it does something bad. The story was pretty whatever for the game, where it's about Sonic defeating the Deadly Six, and I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it didn't do a single thing interesting at all. But hey, it wasn't obnoxious. It wasn't Aliens or Sonic 06 or any of that shit. The game has some pretty weird level design where you're running on this like tube thing. It kind of looks like Sonic Extreme, and this is fine enough. I actually like this tube design. It is different from the normal Sonic game, and it is fun to play. Sonic for some reason has a run button. I mean, you're always going to hold that down. You're always running, and while you don't go super fast, I think that it is still an enjoyable time. The game also has some 2D parts to it that are okay, and there's even some fun grinding levels, I guess. However, this game does have a number of annoying issues. It does introduce this like parkour mechanic, which is just really unresponsive. The homing attack is about as unresponsive as it's ever been, and there's just way too many do or die situations in Sonic Lost World with some annoying boss fights. It just leads to an overall really mixed experience, and it leaves me just feeling indifferent towards the game. Like, it could have been better, but it could have been worse also. I mean, it's just a very average 3D platformer, really, that just didn't add much to Sonic. But hey, it wasn't an awful game, so I guess that's a plus, right? And for simplicity's sake, I'm just throwing the 3DS game in this slot as well. I think pretty much the same thing about it. That, and it also came out on the Wii U. It's like, what an anomaly. I played on the computer, but I just don't really recommend this game all that much. I mean, unless you're really curious about it. The next game on our list is one that I actually quite enjoy, and that is Sonic Unleashed. Now, there are two versions of Sonic Unleashed, and I'm just putting them both here for one collective spot on this list. I remember getting Sonic Unleashed back when it came out and was very, very excited for it, and, you know, even to this day, I still think that this is actually a pretty good game. The story is about Sonic going and defeating Eggman. However, Eggman has a secret weapon up his sleeve where he's able to harness Super Sonic's power and basically blow the Earth up, summoning this monster known as Dark Gaia, and Sonic as a result gets transformed into this werehog thing at night. The story certainly could have been worse, and I'll leave it at that. Now, Sonic Unleashed has two main aspects of gameplay. One that I think is really good and one that I think is really The daytime stages where you're playing as regular Sonic the Hedgehog, I think these are fantastic. These were a breath of fresh air and just showed how Sonic should be created in the modern day, or at least the modern day for the time. These are some of the best levels in any Sonic the Hedgehog game. Like, they are just all great. You go at blistering high speeds, you go through some excellent level design, there's some challenging 2D parts, there's some great 3D parts, excellent grinding, fighting the enemies is as quick and fast as it's ever been. I really like how exhilarating all of the levels are for Sonic. While collecting the medals as Sonic was pretty lame, especially in the 360 PS3 version, it's not that big of a deal. And I just think that the daytime stages, they're all great. However, the nighttime stages are really a point of contention amongst the Sonic fanbase, and most people don't like them, myself included. So at night you play as Sonic the Werehog, and he's much slower in his stretchy arms for some reason. The game plays more like a beat-em-up, and has some platforming elements to it. Don't get it twisted, I love me some beat-em-ups. I love games like God of War and Devil May Cry and Ninja Gaiden, which this is clearly trying to just rip off, and I think those games do it a hell of a lot better than this. I mean, this is one of the most basic, easy beat-em-ups probably ever. It ultimately just becomes really repetitive really quickly, and the platforming sections just are very uninspired, I feel, and it drags the entire game down. And unfortunately, in the Wii version, there is just tons of these Werehog levels in comparison to the daytime stages. And on the Wii version, you're using the motion controls, so, yikes. Also, the frame rate just gets absolutely killed in this game, and it frequently drops down to like 10 FPS when a ton of shit is going on. And despite the Werehog levels not being the greatest, I think the daytime levels make up for it for the most part, and this is still a decently good game that I could actually recommend to the modern gamer. And it is on Xbox 360 with backwards compatibility, so you can play it on your Xbox. But hey, maybe it's worth a shot. The next game on our list is Sonic Heroes. Now, Sonic Heroes I played just about when it came out, and I remember really liking this game, and coming back all these years later, I still think it's actually a pretty good game. Does the game have its flaws? Absolutely, but I think for the most part Sonic Heroes actually holds up decently well and does have an interesting concept. The gameplay of Sonic Heroes really is kind of like Sonic Adventure 2, but really combines a lot of the elements of Sonic Adventure 2 into one gameplay style. In the game, you play as 3 characters. There's 4 teams, but each team has 3 characters, and you can switch between them at any point. And each of the 3 characters is a type. So there's like a speed type, which is for Sonic, Shadow, Amy, and Espio, where they run really fast and can do like the spin dash. Or there's the power type, which is like Knuckles, Omega, Vector, and Big, where they do all the heavy hitting and do the combat in the game. Then there's the flying types like Tails, Rouge, Cream, and Charmy B, and they assist with the flying and some of the harder platforming. And I actually really like this mechanic. It adds a lot of variety to these levels, and it makes for some really dynamic levels. I think that the level design in Sonic Heroes is fantastic, and I think that it is exactly what a Sonic game should be, with tons of different paths and options and just a lot of variety present. Just about every level feels different, and it's all fun to go through. I'd argue that there's many great levels. Some of the best levels in any Sonic game are in Sonic Heroes. Some of the most annoying levels are in Sonic Heroes also, but a lot of these levels are great. I actually was a fan of the interconnected story that Sonic Heroes presents, and while I think the end is pretty silly, I still actually did like the story overall. So with all that, why is this game only at this spot and not higher? Well, the game does have some flaws, don't get me wrong. It isn't all great. The special stages, if you're going for the Chaos Emeralds, are just awful. These are some of the worst special stages in any Sonic game. The controls are really slippery for the most part, especially on the rail grinding. Like, it's overly slippery to the point that it kind of hinders the experience at some points. And then also the way the game progresses is really kind of repetitive. You have to play through the game 4 times. You have to play through the game as each of one of the teams. And sure, they do mix it up a little bit for each team's playthrough, but for the most part it is pretty much the same. And it's like, yeah, you gotta play through the game 4 times if you want to see the real ending. Despite all that, I actually really did enjoy my time with Sonic Heroes, especially all these years later. I still think it is a very solid Sonic game, and I can still easily recommend the GameCube version. I don't know about those other versions with some other graphical issues and glitches and frame rate issues, but the GameCube version, the version I've always played, really fun time, and I still really enjoy it. So the next game on our list is Sonic Colors, which also just got announced to be getting a re-release soon enough. So hey, Sonic Colors, one of the best 3D Sonic games out there. So for Sonic Colors, Sega actually had a good idea. They said, hey, what if we took those daytime levels from Sonic Unleashed, the ones everybody really liked, and just got rid of the Werehog shit, and just had the daytime levels, and made a whole game off that. And that's this game, and Sonic Colors, I think it really pays off for doing that. The game plays pretty much the same as the daytime levels in Sonic Unleashed, and these are awesome. The levels are awesome. The story's about Eggman basically having a giant amusement park in space to make up for his wrong deeds, which is clearly just a ruse, but it leads to some really awesome level design, level environments, and variety, because this amusement park is big, it's vast, it's definitely better than Eggman Land from Sonic Unleashed. And then that also brings in the Wisps, the new power-ups of the game. These, initially, I remember everybody thought this was going to be some gimmicky shit, and I did too, I'm not going to lie, but then, after playing through the game, I can confidently say that it's not, actually. All the Wisps provide unique power-ups, and I think that they all add something to the table. They help the gameplay, they make the gameplay better. What a novel concept for Sonic, where like they actually add something that's good. The game had a superb presentation, especially for the time, with excellent music, great graphics, a solid frame rate, and is easily one of the best 3D platformers on the Wii. Easily the best Sonic game on the Wii, where it was littered with garbage for the most part. And hey, now you can play it on your modern consoles, so there you go. I really enjoyed Sonic Colors, and I don't think you'll find many people who disagree with that, as it is just a really solid 3D platformer and really just shows that Sega, at least at this point, knew what they were doing with the Sonic series. They knew the good gameplay. They knew what made Sonic great. This boost formula, running really fast, exhilarating gameplay, engaging levels. This is what it's about. This is when Sonic is at his best, at least in the modern day.
Copyright law in the universe is going to stop me!
But it's not the best modern Sonic game. I think the best modern Sonic game is Sonic Generations. Now, when Sonic Generations came out, I remember I played it and was just almost blown away with how awesome it was. This was the best Sonic game in like 10 years. Easy. The game was a celebration of Sonic and the series in general, and relived some of the series' greatest moments, and the story was reflective of that, where it was about this time eater that basically sent Sonic through all of his previous adventures, and they also introduced classic Sonic as well. The game really is a greatest hits of Sonic in general. The levels in Sonic Generations are easily the best 3D Sonic levels in any modern Sonic game, really the last like 15 years, bar none. Like, it's just not even close. All these levels are fantastic. They all have tons of different ways you can go about them, replayability, they're all fast, they're fun, they're engaging, the level design is excellent, and there's really not a stinker in here. They're all good. We even have classic Sonic here for 2D levels, and these 2D levels are great also. These, I wouldn't say, are the best 2D levels of the last like 10 years for Sonic games, but these are also really good. The boost formula was really well executed, and all the levels try to do something different, and there's a ton of variety here, and it's just great. The game had great pacing, it had some awesome progression, it's just point A to B, and that's how I like it with Sonic, and this game, above all else, it was just fun. It was a fun time. It was a great 3D platformer that really put Sonic back on the map and was like, hey, we're serious about this. It's like, we know that we messed up a bunch of times with Sonic in the past, but this is a rectification to make Sonic great again, and I think that it succeeded. Sonic Generations is one of the best Sonic games ever made, and it's a great game. It's truly a great game. Well, here we are in the top 2, and I know it's going to be a bit contentious, but I think the second best Sonic game in 3D is Sonic Adventure 2. Now, Sonic Adventure 2, I played the GameCube version back many years ago, and I just fell in love with this game. As a kid, I was totally blown away by this game's story, presentation, just everything really, and I still think it's actually pretty good. I think the story was pretty cool. It introduced Shadow and Rouge, and I thought that it was really good. I thought that the way the story continues and progresses and ends up is actually some of the best stuff in any Sonic game.
So, how did you know it wasn't the real one?
Tails!
Because you just told me, Fox Boy.
It wasn't overly dramatic or super serious or edgy or anything like that. No, it was a generally lighthearted tale that did have a little bit of edge to it, and I just think it was awesome. Like when Eggman blows up the moon, that shit was cool. But then we go to the gameplay, and I think the gameplay of Sonic Adventure 2 absolutely excels. We had our 3 types of gameplay. We had our super high speed levels that featured Sonic and Shadow, where you were just going at really high speeds, doing the spin dash, doing some difficult platforming, some awesome grinding. This was the game to really introduce grinding to Sonic, and hey, this is awesome. Then we have our more mech focused levels, which are about Tails and Eggman, where they're just all about shooting pretty much everything that moves and some minor platforming. And we have our exploration levels for Knuckles and Rouge. And I actually quite like these. I liked exploring these environments for the emerald pieces or keys or whatever it is you're looking for. And while some people aren't a fan of some of these other gameplay types, I did like everything to an extent. I will say I'm not huge on the mech shooting, but I still actually did enjoy it, and I still think that all three gameplay styles are excellent. The levels are all great in this game. There's not really a bad level here. Especially the Sonic and Shadow levels, like this is some of the best level design in any 3D platformer period. Like this shit is gold, especially nowadays. And then the music is just legendary at this point. I mean, if you couldn't tell, like every Sonic game has good music, but Sonic Adventure 2 has maybe the best music of any Sonic game. Ooh, that's not even a hot take. That's just like a big idea. It's an idea that I'm sure a lot of people also share. But hey, I really like Sonic Adventure 2. I have a lot of fond memories with it. I've come back to this game many times over the years. I beat it probably half a dozen, maybe even like 10 times now. It's not the longest game, but it's just so replayable because it's just such a superb adventure. It's so tightly knit, and there's a reason it's so highly regarded. I mean, it's Sonic Adventure 2. It's awesome. And here we are finally at what I think is the best Sonic game in 3D. I think the best 3D Sonic game is Sonic Adventure 1. Yeah, I really do think Sonic Adventure 1 is the best 3D Sonic game. Is there some nostalgia behind this? Of course there is. But I still think it's a superb game and easily one of my favorite 3D platformers, if not favorite games of all time. There are a few games that I have so many great memories with, but again, I still think Sonic Adventure is a really good game. It truly felt like an adventure. It really felt like this big epic journey with the hub worlds that I actually liked. And I think that almost all the levels are very good in this game. I think just about all the levels for Sonic are great. I really have been coming back to these levels for over 15 years now. I just really like the levels for Sonic. I think when you play as Tails and you're racing Sonic, I think this was also very well done and the best Tails gameplay ever. Like, Tails has never had gameplay this good ever again. And I'll take this over the mech stuff any day. I think Knuckles had a really great gameplay style where you explore these worlds looking for the emerald pieces. I think that these were also better than Sonic Adventure 2's. And then we had Amy's levels, which they weren't terrible, but they weren't exactly great. And then we have Big, which is the fishing shit, and yeah, I'll be the first to admit this isn't good. I don't like the fishing. It plays more like Sega Bass fishing, which I'm not a fan of at all. These levels are quite short though, especially if you know what you're doing. You can finish these levels real quick, so it's not that big of a deal. And then you play as Gamma, where you pretty much shoot everything up, and I actually like this more than the mech levels from Sonic Adventure 2. I always really liked playing as Gamma. I think the variety that was present here was really second to none for any Sonic game, and I think all the variety is actually good for the most part, minus the fishing, and I really think it mixes the game up. I really like the story that this game told. It had a big epic story, and it had a really big epic payoff with Chaos. I really did like it. The music is legendary, the gameplay is legendary, especially for Sonic, and it was the first real 3D Sonic game. It was the first truly 3D Sonic game, and I think it's the one that got it right the most. I mean, I think the first one got it right the best, and I think that if they were going to ever remake any Sonic game, it's got to be Sonic Adventure. That would be the one to remake. There's been rumors for years about that, and I hope that one day it does come true, because I really do love Sonic Adventure. I know that's probably not most people's favorite game. Their favorite's probably like Sonic Adventure 2 or Sonic Generations, but Sonic Adventure 1 is just the one that did it for me. And hey, if you don't agree or whatever, tell me in the comments. Alright, that's the end of this list. This was a big list. This list took a long time to make. Like, this really took a long time to make. Thank you guys for waiting. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share it with your friends if you haven't. This was a big list. Everyone have a great day. See ya.